Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews, and today we're looking at the most recent chapter of the 7 Deadly Sins, aka Nanatsu No Taizai, the giant and the fairy. Remember, for a while now, even back when, just before Meliodas got killed, I always wanted the fight to be, in terms of matchups, Glashina Dolor versus Diane and King, and we might be getting that now. It looks like that we're getting that based on this chapter. So brilliant chapter, we will get into it. Without further ado, let's get into this review. So on to the review. Now normally I do 5-point reviews, I cut, I edit, I do all these things. Sometimes lazy, just put it together, but you know, it's one of those things where sometimes you don't have to do that. This is one of those days. Now the reason why is because this whole chapter is about Diane and King, and I really like chapters like this because it's always been a case where we see 2 or 3 different plot lines for different characters, and then we've got to figure out what's going on in each one. I like this better sometimes because we can focus on one thing and we can deal with the multiple plot lines for these characters. So let's get into it. So a few discussion points. Number 1, the whole innuendo situation at the end of last chapter was funny. It carries on into this chapter, but we get clarification. King was focusing on his wings. Now, he has been using the power of Chester fairly. He's a fairy king to float, levitate, and do his attacks. But it would be so much easier if he had wings, he could fly, much like Glashina. So maybe seeing Glashina, who is one of the, I think she's the original fairy queen or king, leads him down the pathway. He thinks he needs to have these wings because he doesn't have them. I think this may be a situation where this is going to be like a power buff or a power up for him, because if he's not relying on his power to levitate himself and he's losing his wings, he'll develop his physical attributes and he'll be able to focus more of his energy into his attacks with Chesterful rather than keeping himself afloat. So a quick little point there, but I just wanted to mention that because compared to Glashina or Glasinia, he doesn't have wings, so that's what he was focusing on. Now point number 2 was interesting because it had a double meaning to it. So the first thing was discussing Meliodas' death. They called him a nice guy, but they couldn't understand him. Now the double meaning, for first thing with the death, they don't know he's alive because they're in the Fairy King Forest. They're not in Leonis and everywhere else, right? So that's the first thing. They're not in that kingdom, so to speak. Number 2 is they couldn't understand him. They couldn't do that before. It's going to be a lot more difficult now because of his current situation, lacking feelings, and him being scared of himself. So that's that double meaning there. We got like a double meaning, I guess, in that point. But I like the way he's done that because it's talking on points in the past and making relevant today with things that are going on. Things are going to be a lot different when they reunite. So that's point number 2. Point number 3 was they were discussing the attacks of the demons and why they haven't happened in the forest. So the Fairy King makes the distinction that this is mainly due to a filter or barrier that he's put up. However, as a foreshadow that Glashina and Dolor technically can come through because one's a fairy, one's a giant. Diane and King, basically. So I like the way they foreshadowed this. Would you really call it foreshadow, being that it's in the same chapter? But hey, it was kind of leading us in that direction. It was getting you to think about that. So I like that. So the next point was, I guess, from the eyes of Gerhard, I think her name is. And she kept saying eyes. So she was speaking to King, saying, look, I went out, I felt like I was being watched, and I came back and I felt like they've been watched. So it kind of made you think that she's gone out, she's gained the attention unknowingly of Dolor and Glashina, and she's come back in. And you go, yeah, okay, whatever, we don't really see much of it. And then you get this, like, they're having fun, it's like relaxing, and then you see one of a panel look like Glashina, and then they're dancing, and Glashina holds a hand, and everything's cool. I'm like, what? That scene will be brilliant. I hope when they animate that scene, they do it like a proper horror movie, suspense thriller type of thing, where before she realizes it, they're gone. Poof, they're gone. So in this dance, they're in a type of trance, more than likely with Glashina's magic or abilities, and she's dancing with Glashina, And basically, when they realize it, King and Diana are gone. Which sets up point number 5, the main point. King and Diana open their eyes, and who's in front of them? Glashina and Dolor. So this is something I was excited about for a very long time. I was looking forward to it. I was excited. I was hyping. There's so many things going on when I was thinking about this, and now it's happening. Few things to bear in mind now. Number 1, we're on break next week. There won't be no 7 Deadly Sins next week, unfortunately, so we will need to wait. Number 2, that is hype as hell as an ending. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely looking forward to it. Number 3, this will show the matchups very nicely. So what I mean by that is how King and Diana work as a team. So that's going to be the key thing. Now, there will be a few things that can happen. Ultimately, Diana and King can power up here. They can tap into more powers and fight. That's a few things. One thing there. It could get interrupted by Meliodas and everybody else trying to reunite everybody. But there's also an underlying thing that could potentially happen. Pretty straightforward is Dolor and Glashina were the replacements for the original 2 commandments, right? Being that they know Meliodas, or they know of Meliodas, and being that Diana and King have their reservations, or they're not quite sure, they didn't quite completely understand him, this may be an opportune time for the storyteller, the author, the mangaka, to tell us more about Meliodas' paths. Maybe this will confuse King and Diana, maybe this will kind of put them on edge. It's interesting. There's so many things that we can do. We can get the fight, we can get interrupted, we can get power-ups, we can find out more about Diana and King's relationships, and we can find out more about Meliodas' power. So much to look forward to. We're going to have to wait now. We've got a week off next week. Hopefully next time we're out, we can catch up and find exactly what's going on. That's all for this review. Hope you enjoy my thoughts, my predictions, my review. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought, or on Reddit if I can post it. And as always, please like, comment, share and subscribe. I greatly appreciate that, and I'll see you next time. Peace.